Let me just flip this around so that the microphone can pick up the feed on YouTube. Apologies. Hopefully that's a bit better. Right, so where was I? So I'm just making sure that as I'm developing these systems that it's not going to be overly complicated, so that when there's a problem, I don't know where the hell to fix it. So in the first stages, all I wanted to do was build the lead generator, which would research company information, public information, very simple, SIC codes, industry type, revenue, expected foreign exchange turnover, things like this. And then as I've run through my smoke testing is just simulating. I'm just firing at company information and then it's giving me results. And I'm analyzing those results and seeing how it's performing, seeing if there's any bugs in the system, if it's doing anything wrong. And then I'm putting more information, giving it feedback, refining the code and doing that. So I'm just developing it slowly. The next process is to make sure that it can dig real, true, important information that is currently very hard for me to pull out of the internet. And that will be direct phone numbers, direct email addresses, insights in the company that are like articles that they might have published 6 months ago. They might have been published in a news article somewhere. And that's information that is so invaluable to the client, because not only does it give us a grasp as to what they're doing in the business aspect of things, but it also shows that we have done our homework and we do know about their business, and it's interesting. If somebody calls you up and they say to you, I noticed you in this newspaper, and it's a personal small newspaper, they're going to listen because they think, wow, okay, that's interesting you came across us, So the next step for me would be to refine the lead generation system, the OpenClaw system, refine the CRM manager so it's also transferring that information seamlessly with no bugs. And then the next stage would be to work on the sales bot, which is effectively an OpenClaw agent that goes out and approaches companies. Now, it's quite surprising to find, actually quite surprising to me, that people actually sell by email nowadays. And they've been doing that for quite some time. I get a ton of spam email into my inbox, but actually email sales, cold emails is a very big thing. And it's just a sheer statistical probability equation. If you fire out enough emails to companies around the globe that need your services or is relevant to your services, you will get a percentage return of people that are interested. So that will be the next stage in which I utilize the bespoke intelligence from the research engine, and then I allow the sales bot to go out and send emails to companies with specific information tailored to the way that it's done its research to sell our services. And then I can categorically say, when I do get a registration from a company that's signed up to us as a result of one of our bots doing something, I can say it's now made me money. Now I'm generating money from these AI systems. At the moment, it's not generating me direct revenue because it's saving me time. It's not making me money. But the moment the sales bot goes out and I get interest from clients and they say, I want to learn more, send us your company information, send us the registration link, or they've registered, that will be a direct result of a OpenClaw system making me money.
Yeah, because that's what most people want, right? Like they want a passive income stream. They want a machine, a money machine that is making them money easily and fast. And with Claude from Anthropic, people have been investing money via the AI. So the AI gets some money and it makes more with it. What do you know about that?
I find it really funny that a lot of people out there want passive income. It's almost like everyone wants to sit on their arse and just they just want the money to roll in. There's no such thing really as passive income unless you're looking at investing in the S&P 500 and getting a 10% average yield every year. Everything requires some level of management. And if you're of the impression that you want to venture into AI because you just want it to print money from you, you're going to fail immediately, because you have to manage your expectations. It can make money, but there's a ton of work that needs to be done in the beforehand. So I don't think anyone should have that. I think it's very hard to be defeated if you are actively interested. You find it interesting building things. You have the ability to wait, and you don't need the money straight away. And you have a business that you're already running that is successful and making you money. I think those are quite important. Sure, yeah, you could probably make money if you had pressure on you and you had to make money quickly. There are a ton of ways that you can do that. There was an OpenClaw system that a guy developed in one day that generated him $5,000 in one day, and that was because it effectively made a course online. It sold PDF courses, advertised on Twitter. It was trending on Twitter. Everyone shared it, being like, "Oh my God, this OpenClaw system just developed its own PDF rulebook about something," and it generated money on the first day. But that is, not an example of what its capabilities are like to the general public. I think you have to realize it's going to be hard to make, but once you make it, it will make you more money than you've ever been able to make in your entire life.
Yeah. So in comparison, because today we compare Anthropic to OpenAI. So I made this like literally in a few seconds with Claude, literally. And back in the days, an application, it took like days or weeks to make.
Yeah.
Now an app or a website like this is interactive. You can see the tasks and the progress. It was really like a few seconds. And also this landing page about upgrade, also interactive, and also a countdown, live. So, and that's also still going on, as you can see in the back. I think that's pretty cool. So my question is, in what way is OpenClaw better than Claude?
In what way is OpenClaw better than Claude?
Yeah.
So OpenClaw has access to the entire computer, including the terminal, the files, and it's segregated from the desktop in which it's imprisoned on in your computer. OpenClaw in itself is the best way to roll out autonomous tasks because it has the ability to use anything in its disposal on that computer. And obviously that's the reason why it's so risky, and that's why there's security concerns, because it can pull and do anything on that computer. Anthropic's, I guess, counter to OpenClaw, because it is a counter, what they've done is they've tried to allow you to program the desktop app on Mac in order to make it seem that it's as capable as the OpenClaw system, but it's simply not. When you're building these systems, you don't want the functionality to be limited by the fact that it's only an application on your computer. So, I would say if you don't want to be complicated with things, if you don't want to really have the true powers, the true extent of the potential, then sure, use Claude as an app. But if you really want to, delve into how something can go on independent websites, scrape API data, use a computer in front of you almost like there was a physical human, invisible human behind it using it, then I would say get yourself an independent laptop or a computer and use it that way. But they're quite incomparable in my opinion. I would definitely say go with the OpenClaw system. But yeah, a lot of people actually that don't know much about AI on social media have said, OpenClaw's dead. Claude has brought out their own update and blah, blah, blah. But that's nonsense. I wouldn't believe that at all.
What's one major thing you want to give the audience right now, like as an insight or just maybe a motivational...
Motivation. That's why I want to give people motivation. As I explained in my previous slideshow, we're 0.04% of the population using AI right now in the capacity of outside of a chatbot, which is actually only 16%. AGI, which is another thing we were discussing, has only got a 2% accuracy. So we have artificial intelligence, or ANI, which is artificial narrow intelligence, which are the same things. AGI, artificial general intelligence, and then ASI, artificial superintelligence. AGI is currently at a 2% accuracy, meaning that if you ask AGI systems of current today's technology to solve a task, it has a 2% accuracy. So 98% of the time it gets things wrong. For me, that's amazing in that it tells us how early we are when it comes to these systems. But with the limitations that the limitations that AI has compared to AGI in current today, in what we actually have, those limitations are actually still very useful for companies, because 90% of businesses, 80 to 90% of businesses, they don't need creativity to run. They just need automation for basic, repetitive, mundane tasks. So as I said, you don't really need to have it do all the imaginative, impressive things. All the video production that it does and all these magical, ways that it shows that it has actual intelligence, that's not actually where it's going to make you money. Where it's going to make you money is when it just, contacts 1,000 suppliers and it barters down the best price for something, and then you find arbitrage in the market, and then you sell that to a seller immediately. And that's all really basic stuff, So yeah, the question again, sorry, was?
Yeah, what you want to give away to people
Yeah,
today.
it's the motivation. Start today, start today. Just get to use the system. Thomas, how's your experience been with it since you actually exposed yourself to using OpenClaw and Claude Code?
Claude Code was way easier because I'm not a programmer. I'm a little bit technical, so I had motivation enough to just figure it out. Of course, also using AI to make AI. So I was using ChatGPT to make OpenClaw.
Yeah, that's what I mean, right?
Still, you need a lot of technical know-how to make it, and you need to think in systems. You need to think in concepts to build a proper foundation in order to make it faster, and in order not to debug a lot, because debugging is also a very common effect. People, they have to debug a lot, I think, because they don't think in foundations and they just make a task, and then later on in the adventure they want another task to be done, but then those two tasks are conflicting with each other. But you have to think about that
Yeah.
beforehand.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's like your website. You've got it to have all these different plugins and settings. It's complicated enough, but I mean, I would probably argue that every one of those plugins don't work flawlessly at the moment. And the more things you want to add and integrate can actually cause problems with other things in the future. So back to my previous show, you really need to know the architecture of something quite well in the first instance before you build out. And it's so easy to run before you can walk. It's so easy because it's so enthusiastic. I mean, how many times Claude and OpenAI are like, fantastic, let's build this, and it's like, calm the fuck down, right? You need to, and how many times I'm saying, if you do this, it's going to affect this, and if you do this, it's going to affect that, and then it slows down. But it's really quite irritating in my opinion. So you have to really know your own systems and processes very well, and you have to really not allow it just to run off the rails, because then later down the line, you're going to have a load of issues that are going to be as a result of just getting everything done far too quickly. And that's why I'm still on the lead generation system. Today, it's working more effective than it ever has. It's pulling more information than it ever has, but it's a slow process because you have to really take your time in building those systems up. And, sometimes it has that problem where it thinks it always knows the answer when it doesn't. But I'm glad you're using it. It seems fantastic. The fact that you can build a website that quickly is amazing.
Yeah. So that's with Claude Code, indeed. And I think AI in general is developing fast. So yeah, you have to be less technical these days, because if you use AI to make AI, it's not that hard anymore. We have a question from Mohammed. Why people are spending 2K USD to buy a Mac Mini just for OpenClaw, while they can buy a VPS hosting and run their autonomous agents there only for $10 to $25 a month?
I mean, to be honest, you can use either, but there is a bit of lag. If you want to directly configure that computer in person, for me, it's a lot easier. Also, you're decentralizing it. If you have the computer within your own apartment or your house, that information that you're making on that server is no longer with the company that hosts the servers. I mean, you could hire you could go on, you can go on a website and you can hire a gaming computer that you can stream online with a RTX 5090 GPU, and it's super powerful. You can hire a supercomputer, But a lot of the reasons why people don't use it is because they want that computer in front of them. They don't want that information shared over the web. They don't want to have a problem with Wi-Fi that affects their ability to work on that machine. There's a list of reasons. So it all depends on the case use. But I wouldn't advise a VPS at the moment. I mean, it's the reason why it's been trending so much is because influencers, YouTubers, and all sorts of people that I can making money on it. They're making money on the referral fees, so that's why it's such a big thing right now. But also, if you don't actually have the money and you don't have an old computer, then it might be a good way to start out, because then you can launch the OpenClaw system on that without any risk, and you're not going to damage the computer because it's on a server, a computer somewhere else, right? So if you really are, strapped for cash, then it might be a good solution. But the first thing I would say in terms of an alternative to a VPS is an old computer. Just get an old computer that you don't use, even one with a really cracked screen. You can start working on that in the first instance. It's in front of you. There is a bit of a delay when it comes to live streaming a computer that you have on a server. You have to share the screen. The screen is shared onto your computer in a window, and then you operate in that way. I don't know. That for me doesn't feel very efficient. There's actually another thing I would say. There's a video I posted online on my Instagram of me working 12 hours with 3 MacBooks around me and then 2 other MacBooks in front of me. And I built these 3 OpenClaw systems in 8 hours. I was recording the stream. And you could see how much I was going from one to the other. I was like working there. Imagine I did that on a VPS. How horrific would that be? I'd have to switch windows, and I have to go in the terminal on each file. It seems really messy if you want to have a really complex system with multiple OpenClaw agents.
Is there something you would like to automate in daily life?
I mean, there's so many things. It's more of a question of what wouldn't I want to automate? Once you start using these systems, you realize it can really make your life better in every single aspect. So there's literally no reason why. If everyone could afford 10 executive assistants who were running around with pens and pencils, managing your entire life, why wouldn't you want to do that? It makes absolutely no sense not to, try to utilize that technology. And so I think that, it's more of a question, why wouldn't you want to do that? I guess it's the question of whether or not you have the time and patience to build these systems.
Yeah. I think in the end, everybody wants to automate almost everything at home, like domotics, smart apps at home, like the oven goes on automatically or the curtains close automatically.
Yeah.
All of it interacting with your actual or current thoughts and desires. I also predict that OpenClaw via WhatsApp will take care of that. So if you have your OpenClaw at home, it knows preferences, it knows your schedule, and you only have to talk with WhatsApp, with one assistant there.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing future. If you have the ability for everything to be in front of you without you having to think about it, for food to arrive at the door because it can tell that your blood sugar has dropped as a result of a smart wearable, and it knows that you'll be getting hungry soon. I think a future like that is absolutely fantastic, and we are heading that way. But a lot of people will be late. A lot of people won't capitalize on these things. And there is an opportunity right now in the market where people are saying, it's either not there or it's already done, and they haven't utilized the technology. But that's where the opportunity is. As I said on the last episode, the amount of companies that did not capitalize on installing computers into their companies when the computers came out from Microsoft back in the day. The amount of companies that didn't really use the internet and they still sold physical. Look at Woolworths, it went under. HMV, these are UK companies that went bankrupt because they didn't rely enough on online services and they stuck with brick and mortar. So if you are the kind of person that wants to capitalize on an opportunity before it comes right in the spotlight and everyone's doing the same thing, then this is exactly it. You need to be educating yourself constantly. And it's actually so interesting, it's easy to educate yourself in these areas. But yeah, our whole lives are looking to be automated because that's what sells. Everyone does want to walk around like they're a king and everything is just put underneath their feet. You know, a red carpet is pulled out for you everywhere you go. Yeah, I don't know your perspective on it, but for me, that sounds like a really wonderful future.
100%. It's just too difficult to most people. Like in China, they're paying people to install it for them,
Yeah.
for the whole setup. Guys, how is that for you? William, did you set it up last week?
Hi guys, how you doing? You alright?
How you doing, William?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm good. So, mate, I think I'm in a situation that maybe a lot of other entrepreneurs are in, where you've only got a limit. It's a funny one because it's like a catch-22, I guess. You've got a limited amount of time in your day, right? And then you're so busy with work that then you have to force yourself into creating time so that you can free up more time in the long term. And I was thinking about it this morning. Anyone that sort of says that they don't have time to do something is full of shit. You just have to make the time. So, me personally, I haven't actually had the time to set it up, but I am making the time to come and invest in sitting in on these calls and finding out about it. And I think that's the first step. What I'm going to do is basically structure my day so that every day I've got an amount of time that I can spend on doing this to invest in the long term, and basically try and delegate that to someone else. But yeah, so far I haven't actually had the opportunity to set it up, but I'm very aware that needs to happen. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely fine. And I mean, like, you know, you understand the logic behind it. If there is something in your day that's taking up a lot of time, and all of a sudden you spend 2 months like I did, that is cutting that time down, you've now got extra time to use to learn more and to build more. Yeah, so I mean, again, and anyone that's looking on YouTube, viewing this kind of content, educating themselves, as slow as it might be, is still a great step forward. And we are very early. We are extremely early. But yeah, it's good. I appreciate you joining the session. So I also hope you get something set up that we can speak about. Maybe you've got some more questions for me. But yeah. Any other questions from anyone else? Or
more people. Adam. Yes, Adam.
Yo, hi, hey guys.
Hi, Adam.
Hey, OpenClaw. I got my Mac Mini. Yo, how's it, guys? Yeah, I got my Mac Mini in front of me. I set up my OpenClaw like just over a week ago. Called her Alicia, and I used AI to figure it out. Pretty much, like, yeah, I used Claude Code on the Mac Mini within the window to like set everything up.
Mm-hmm.
I researched it quite a bit before I did it. I set up like a 3-layered memory system, which I heard is a good thing, so that it doesn't forget things, and heartbeats, so that it like doesn't disappear. And now, honestly, I'm not really sure what I'm going to use it for. At my level, at my place where I am in my own, it's a coaching business. I don't really have anything to automate. I need to create content and coach people. And I've been trying to figure out like how to maybe get leads, but I don't have a lead system. Like you said last week, you automate a system you already have. I don't really have a good lead system. So I'm just kind of taking it one step at a time. I know that I want to, I see the value in this, and I'm still figuring out like how this is going to help me, but I'm just playing around with it. I'm like just chatting with Alicia, talking about stuff. Like we tried something this week, but it didn't really feel right. I'm
awesome.
Thinking of maybe I'm going to create a second one on the same machine. I know that you said that it's better to have another machine, but I did read that if you can have different memory files and different agents on the same machine. I think at least at my level, probably it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, if I don't figure out what to do for my work yet, I might just work on like fitness stuff, like creating a fitness thing that tracks all of my workouts and just like create things that are useful in my life until I understand like how this can actually help me in my coaching and
Amazing.
make me more money.
Well, look, first of all, congratulations on actually starting, because you're already ahead of 90% of the people. Most people that have an idea in bed never really make that come to fruition. So congratulations on actually doing it, buying the Mac, setting it up, speaking to Claude. You're ahead of so many people, so well done for that. It might seem that you've hit a little bit of a dead end at the moment, but that's the natural progression of it. You're gonna have peaks and troughs in your interest based on the difficulty. Like, I remember myself when I got really fed up, when I came across a ton of debugging and it wasn't listening to me. And I was explaining to Claude code, we've already spoke about this. I told you don't do this explicitly and you're doing it again. And it's really frustrating when it does that. But you have to push through and persist, because right now my lead generator is incredibly effective and it's taken over my job in terms of having to research information, which is saving me hours and hours of time. It's crazy, as I said. If you don't know what to do, because you said you don't have a mechanical way of actually doing things in the first instance, and you're actually building yourself and your presence, I would research your competition and find out online using Reddit and other forms of free information to find out how other people are doing this. And the AI will absorb that information. And I think if you also want to ensure a greater level of success, maybe create a Notion account and make yourself a roadmap, a business roadmap. And what you want to do is look at the trajectory of every people who do similar things that you're currently trying to achieve, integrate that with AI and say, I want to make my own personalized version of this. I want to get to this level. How do we reverse engineer this so that we can begin here? And then you'll start to learn and you'll start to build things gradually and slowly for you. And one of the key things that you said was, I want to start slowly. And absolutely right. As Thomas was saying, it's so easy to get convoluted with debugging and issues when the AI is so optimistic and it makes it sound like we're going to make money tomorrow, But that's not the reality a lot of the time, and it does excite you and then it disappoints you. Just keep your mood stable and realize it's a big curve. And as long as your highs are higher than your previous ones and the lows are higher than the previous ones, you're going in the right direction and then you will succeed. But as I said, learn about it, learn about AI, learn about what you can achieve from your respective field of what you're trying to do, and then it will begin to automate things. Now, an example for you right now, Adam, is this. I have never been on YouTube Live. I have never uploaded a video online. I've never made short form content. I've done all of those three in one day utilizing AI. I spoke to Claude and I said, I've just made a live video. This is the project. Obviously, you know that you're helping me as project manager for my OpenClaw system. Please tell me what sources of information I can use to put this video out there. What do I need to do? And I literally spoke through the whole thing with it. And I've made some shorts that look really impressive. Now, I'm in a studio with one of my friends who has several YouTube channels. And he said to me, damn, he goes, you've done some really good work there. Like, it looks like you've been on YouTube for a while. And that was the first day that you made that content and the first short form content you've made. I didn't have a clue. And it's all about going headfirst into something and saying to everyone out there, I don't give a fuck if I'm wrong. I don't care if I don't know how to do something. I'm going to learn. And there will be people watching my stream right now. And there might even not be a lot of people watching my stream. It makes no difference to me. You have to be completely oblivious to all of that, right? All that matters is that you're learning more information and that you continue to push through and that you don't lose heart when it gets frustrating, when it seems like one day you might have a massive breakthrough and another day it might be really tough because it seems like, oh damn, this is not as easy as I thought it's going to be. Keep yourself stable, invest the time, educate yourself, and realize that when you do get super rich, you will be looking at this moment of your learning phase as probably the brightest part of your life.
So, Gus, you made like several agents. We have a great question from Anthony because he has 13 personal businesses and he does social media management for it, SEO, Google and Meta ads, booking reservations via the website, email, WhatsApp.
Mm-hmm.
he would like to automate as much of this as possible. Do you think it's best to set up OpenClaw systems by department or by business? And if by department, how do you set up different tone of voice, business information, brand guidelines? If by business, how do you recommend running the departments for the one business
Well,
or
what's
one
the business
system?
exactly? Sorry.
Anthony.
We have restaurants, hotels, digital agencies, and a few online sales businesses, but primarily these questions are for hospitality businesses.
Okay, well, I mean, in all honesty, I've never been in hospitality myself, but the first thing I would do, quite similar to what I said to Adam, is I would research the competition. If you're a long-standing business owner and you are an entrepreneur with a lot of data, I would feed as much of that data to the AI system as possible, and it will actually identify the areas in which it can help you scale and optimize. It identified that incredibly quickly with my business. It identified how much time I was wasting on data management, which was really causing a massive bottleneck. But obviously, you have to understand your own business as well, very well, and I'm sure you do. But you really need to, I would say, the first thing is upload as much information as possible, understand your business incredibly well yourself, research the competition, and then ask the AI to build you a framework and then simulate it. So you can say to the AI, okay, this is how our business currently runs. I would like you to run 100 simulations using the framework that we plan to implement. And I want you to determine how much better or less effective that will make, and also what potential problems this could cause in the future, i.e., it might cause problems where if there are clients interacting with AI and they know that it's AI, it might cause a drop-off retention of clients, or you might lose interest from clients, for example. But I'm not the super intelligence here. I just know to ask the right questions. I'm a good architect of building things, and I think that just comes to the fact that I'm always trying to learn, always trying to ask the right questions, trying to build a big picture. And remember, that picture or that formula that you might have to build and improve that company, it might change as time goes on. You might come across things that you might not have been able to determine until you get to that phase. But for me and my business, as I said, I spent 2 weeks running the roadmap of how I want to implement the AI systems before my Mac even arrived. So I had a very strict framework, and I think you need that scope. And I don't know how many people in this webinar are business owners, but I know that when I started my business, I did the same thing. I spent weeks working out the business plan, working out where I want to go, where I want to be in 6 months from now, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years from now. And I think you have to have that perspective, because it's almost very difficult to try to work out what to do on day one or month one if you don't really know where the end goal is. And I think that's also a problem that a lot of people have when they come in here, because they expect a lot of magic to happen. I think try and go really primitive with it. You could even upload your business plan. You could even upload your business plan that you made when you first opened up these companies, Anthony, and you could say, this is what I plan to do, this is our performance now, and then you can give it your personal opinion. And then if it doesn't know enough, you can say, ask me 50 questions that you might want to know the answers to in order for us to build this roadmap that we can use to integrate AI. Because it will know, Claude knows so well about current capabilities of its own system. So that's my answer to that. I hope that's good enough. But also, if you really did want to have somebody one-on-one, you can also pay for my consultation services when I can come and help you on a one-on-one basis. That's also an option. But truth be told, I think anyone can do this themselves. They don't really need someone like me.
Separate question. Oh, yes, sure. Shoot
Is
it.
that right? Is that Thomas? Yeah. Thanks, mate. I joined at about 107, and like if we're looking at things from a lead generation perspective, obviously on the last session, you were showing us Claude and the way that it researches businesses and does all of that for you. So you've delegated like the research bit to Claude. How are you then intertwining the research that you're finding and then automating lead generation from that? Are you getting AI to email? Are you getting it to message people on LinkedIn? Are you getting it to make phone calls? Are you making the phone calls yourself? And what specific AI technology are you using to do that?
There are a number of AI technologies. Since this AI boom, since NVIDIA stock has been going through the roof, it's almost as significant as the dot-com bubble or the crypto boom. So there's companies everywhere. One of them is called Vapi. Vapi is a voice AI agent. As we discussed in last session, I don't think it's there yet currently with AI sales calls. So you can do something such as an autopilot system where the bot's basically doing the talking, but you have a sales representative actually reading the script or using that script as a guideline how to sell to that individual. So you get somebody very cheap, someone from a country where it's quite cheap for employment, such as Philippines, someone that can speak English. You give them the AI autopilot and the system that you've trained the sales bot on, and then they can cold call and approach companies. The way that I plan to do it initially is I want the research and the golden nuggets of information in front of me in a prospect brief, and then I will phone call them personally. The reason why I'm doing that at the moment is because I strongly believe, again, I've said this so many times, in walking before you run. I want to train these bots before they start approaching clients. I will record my phone conversations automatically with the CRM manager. It will download the phone call. It will understand what was spoken about in the exact context. I will then decompile what it understands, and if it has any questions, I will then speak to it about what it's learned. And I think after doing that for about 3 months and educating my sales bot, I will give it the opportunity. Actually, simultaneously, I will allow it to send out messages, but not phone call or not any voice pilot. But I'm trying to make sure that when it's planning to speak to somebody, that it does it in the most optimal way with the right things to say. And so I want it to be adequate before it goes out there, because it can obviously ruin your brand image and a load of other things. And it's obviously not the voice AI person's fault, the Philippine person who's using a voice AI pilot, if it's giving them wrong information. So you need to make sure that it's doing a good job. But that all comes down to you, right? So that all comes down to your ability to sell, your ability to close business, your ability to understand the business and what the bot should be saying. The bot is only as good as its master, right? And I think that's also a very important thing to state here, is that you can't teach it to sell well or do things if you haven't been able to sell or open up business. And you could brute force it in a way. I mean, you could spam everyone with a ton of emails and use companies to send out a load of emails, and then you probably will get some nibbles. But obviously, the more effective you are as a salesman, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, the more effective the system will be. But I hope I've outlined it there, and that is quite clear for you. I want to make sure that I teach it first before I roll it out. But yes, it will approach companies by email, by LinkedIn, voice autopilot, and then when the voice technology is there, I will try to roll it out that way too.
So the ultimate situation is that I just claim myself 10 times, but it sounds like that's basically what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, and it's possible, and it will be possible very soon. And I mean, it's as I say, it's absolutely ludicrous, because the potential output that you can gain from that is insane. And look, you don't need to have the sales bot actually be the intricate business closer that speaks about the technicalities of what it is you're trying to sell as a business. You can have an opener. You can have someone who literally calls companies, asks them if some X and Y is relevant to them, says, "Can I send you a brochure with information? Are you interested to speak to a senior person of staff?" And that's it. And even doing that, you would, yeah.
So what's the benefit of creating an AI system over using a marketing agency or using Apollo?
It's quite literally, it's quite literally vastly more skillful. It's vastly more tailored and bespoke. It's vastly cheaper than using those platforms. I know that Apollo does that already, but it's got massive limited capabilities in comparison to an OpenClaw system. Apollo can't go on the computer and effectively open up a browser and go through different programs to achieve a goal. You can use Apollo as well for that information, and you can tie in your agent using Apollo. But there might be companies out there that actually end up being the quickest way to do what I'm saying, but there will be a cost to that. An example is you can already get a phone system operated with an AI agent, but they're charging you, I think, like $2 a minute, I think, something like that. And if that's for long-term sophisticated sales calls, things like that, the cost will up, but it's not cheap. It's far better to build it yourself, in my opinion, because you also have control over that, and then you're not relying on these systems, these companies to basically run your business for you.
We had another question of Mohammed. He's also in lead gen. He's not a broker like you, but about lead gen, because most of the sources, they don't provide verified contact details. And if you're gonna scrape the web, how does it work?
How does it work?
Yeah.
There are different companies, all with different repositories of information. I wouldn't know exactly where they get their information from, but there used to be a number of people on LinkedIn that had their mobile number attached to their profile, so that was a very easy way to scrape data. But I mean, there are so many ways in which you can obtain direct contact details using bots. You could have bots that literally, you could effectively train a bot to go through gatekeepers and then people who don't want to pass you through to the director. You can do that. I mean, you can teach them in any way possible. I guess the potential is only really what you're willing to spend the time to build. But also, being such a broad thing, it's being such a broad area of where you should spend your time. As I said in the last session, you should look at your business and say, what's the most mechanical thing I currently do that burns all of my time, and try to optimize that. When it comes to lead gen, I know that maybe some people are anchored on that just because I'm building my system, but I'm sure there are a lot of businesses here as well who would actually get a lot more out of just automating mundane data tasks. Like there was one client that I had that required I had to receive multiple, like 20 invoices from them, and I had to upload that to KYC on every Friday for a certain level of trades, and that took up so much time of me. And that would have been such a perfect solution for that. I would have got the bot to just compile all of that information on my behalf, and with the time I would have freed up, I would have either went to a bar earlier or I would have done more work to make more money. So that's what I would advise. Try and automate the simple tasks, and then when you've signed off on that task and it's finished, then go to the more complex ones. But yeah, and also there's another company. I can't remember what it was. I've literally forgot it, but a company that does a load of research and pulls information. When I was working 10 years ago, we really didn't have a great place to have direct information for companies that businesses specifically would be using to extract and to sell to. And there might be a few out there, but again, you own the platform. There's an entire difference to you owning the platform, the cost being as little as you want it based on how much tokens you plan to use, but also you integrate them. Like my lead generator has messages that it speaks to the sales bot to, and they interact to each other. The sales bot will say, that was inaccurate. I don't know, where did you get that information? Because I spoke to the person and that's not true. And the lead gen bot would be like, oh shit, sorry, I looked here, that's my bad. And they will interact, and then they will develop and they'll be better. And that's all possible because, they're OpenClaw systems. You're really going down to the primary value here. You're not using a subscription service where you're limited in terms of compatibility, in terms of how bespoke it is for exactly your business offering. And then you can't scale it. There's limitations, All these companies, they're limited at X amount of emails that you can send. I just don't see another way, to be honest. I'm always going to use my own systems unless there's something that's vastly simple and cheap and efficient. But that may come out in the future.
I wonder if Anthony's question has been answered fully. It was quite a long question. In the end, he's asking, does it make sense to run DeepSeek and other open source AIs on a local server rather than paying for all the AIs that you're going to use?
I think build one AI system first, and then if that AI system has shown you it can save you time or make you more money or produce more output, then invest in more systems. And then you might start off with one that saved you an hour a day, or maybe even 10 minutes a day. And then eventually in a year, you might have seven that might save you a whole week's of work. You might be on a holiday and you might not have to have any, it might be, a holiday season public for the whole office. And you might be able to run most of your company on systems that don't take breaks. But yeah, always start off small. I'm not expecting anyone also to do the insane thing that I decided to do, which is to set up 7 bots at the same time. It is very strenuous to try and do that, because when you change the code of one, sometimes that affects the code on others, and they need to be asynchronized. So I'm not suggesting that that should be the way. What I'm saying is just start, just like Adam started. He got his Mac Mini, he's setting things up. At first, there's that buzz because it's a new thing and it's interesting that you're speaking to a form of intelligence that understands your business, or it insinuates that it understands what's going on. But then you hit some hurdles and you're like, damn, where do I go from here? What can this actually optimize? What can I actually build with this? But just start gradually and build. And eventually, the task is save time or create greater output. And that will directly, again, it's also very hard to sit there and be like, wow, I've spent 2 months. What has this actually done? But if you're able to have hit any of those objectives, then you're winning. And that's scalable, because once you've built it once, you can build it again for other parts of your business or your personal life. And that's what saves you time and money, and exponentially,
Right. And Anthony, please speak up if you have another question or if
my point was more currently, like, for example, you're APIing Claude with your OpenClaw, and that costs you tokens. Could you run a local server with open source AIs? So instead of
First of all, I'm not using APIs for OpenClaw. I'm using my subscription for ChatGPT, which is totally acceptable and not against the terms and conditions. So I use Claude on a desktop app as a project manager. So as I said in the last session, every workday that I compile the brief of what we've done, I upload that to the project on the Claude Mac app, and I go through the tasks that we have in order to build the project of the OpenClaw systems. It has my roadmap, it has all the key documents, it understands my business, it has all the call recordings, the emails and all of that, so it's got a good understanding of our business. And so I use Claude as a project manager. I use OpenClaw with ChatGPT 5.4 thinking plugged in on the £200 a month plan. So I'm using £200 a month on Claude for the desktop app, and then I'm using another £200 a month with the monthly subscription for my OpenClaw systems. Your question was, could you use DeepSeek or another open source language model on a local system? You absolutely can, and that is my intention in the future. They are now, I think NVIDIA are planning to launch local systems that can be run on their $20,000 local AI machines. That is 100% the future, because number one, that's far more better for data privacy. Anything that you build on these systems are not exposed to the internet or are going out there on servers. But number two, you do not have to pay for subscriptions or tokens, and there is no risk of OpenAI having problems, or Claude or Anthropic having issues where they might have to push up their prices. There's no fluctuation. You got to look at AI tokens a little bit like gas or electricity, right? They could fluctuate. If there's an influx of people and demand goes up, they may push their prices up. So there is instability and uncertainty when it comes to using cloud services. And I would 100% be geared towards using local systems where the compute is done on the local system. But for anything sophisticated like Opus 4.6, you'd need at least 200 or 2 to 500 gigabytes of RAM. Now, one of the most expensive Mac computers, MacBooks on the market right now, is about 64 gig of RAM. So you can imagine you need a lot of them just to run one of the most powerful systems that we currently have locally. So unless you're willing to really take a massive drop in power and performance, then I think it's completely illogical to use a local AI system, because you'd spend a ton of money on a Mac Studio with the maximum power. You'd spend either $20,000 on a supercomputer in which you can run these AI systems, and even then it's not going to perform as well as Opus 4.6 in the cloud or ChatGPT 5.4 thinking.
Yep, that answers my question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And so today we have Guy in the meeting, Olga, Daria as well. If you have any questions about OpenClaw, about AI, please ask them. Otherwise, we go back to Mohammed and William. Yeah, they had questions about lead gen. William, is everything clear to you?
I've got a great question, I think. If someone... Love the way you're smiling, you're like gearing up. If someone gave you, right now, 100 contacts for your perfect customer, and you know what your perfect customer is, right?
Yeah, my ideal client profile.
Yeah. They gave you 100 contacts, and you had information on their mobile number, telephone, email. What would be your AI process in terms of everything that you know at the moment to do with AI, in terms of reaching out to and sending to those customers?
So I would be tempted to see if the AI sales bot could handle those clients themselves. I would give them semi-autonomy, and I would allow them to approach those businesses in a semi-autonomous fashion where I have the right to cancel out messages that they send. So I will feed the...
When you say messages, though, is it what route are you going down? Are you emailing? Are you texting?
Emailing, yeah. Emailing at the moment, or even LinkedIn. The only reason I assume that is because obviously it's quite easy to determine if an AI system is an AI system if you get it to call them. But right now that capability is not currently possible. So I would, in the first instance, I would get an email going, or I would, maybe even call the client and say, let's discuss this over email, and just use it as a way to test the system. And I'm very actually interested in this already. I'm excited, but also a little bit nervous because I don't want it to burn leads or cause brand damage. But I would love for the ICP, the client, the ideal client profile, I'd love to see what the bot does in order to get them to the right area of the sales process where they're ready to sign up and use our services, but also not push them down the wrong path. We can all sell to people in a number of ways, and sometimes businesses shoot themselves in the foot by diminishing margin and slating the competition, and then it becoming a price war. And actually, you've acquired the client, but at what cost? You're actually making no money. So I would be very interested to see how the AI sales bot would approach these companies, and then how warm are these leads after? How lucrative are the clients? How warm are they? And that is actually a really exciting part, and I can't wait to get there. And there's a lot right now stopping me to just run ahead and just fire out my sales bot, because you already saw in the last session it sells intelligence. It was saying really good stuff, like really intricate, intelligent information surrounding a business's unique arrangements that would be received so well by these clients, because it's not information that is painted on a wall. And our industries, especially in the UK, William, as I'm sure you're aware, is full and saturated with terrible salesmen. And it's the reason why we've got so many gatekeepers in the UK, is because you've got salesmen feature bashing, burning their companies, zero reputation, rude on the phone. And as a result, we've got the market responding with sophisticated and rude gatekeepers, and that those are receptionists who really burn people who are trying to get through to decision makers. The Karens, exactly. Yeah, so I think I would be very interested to see how sophisticated it is. But actually, before I even do that, it's part of my plan. I already know, as I said to you guys, I have a roadmap. I have a very big, clear distinction of what I'm doing and how I'm rolling things out. It's part of my plan to run out simulations and see how those simulations work. And it already has done some simulations. I could actually get 2 different bots, and I can build a finance director bot. And I can say, have a look at these 13,000 conversations I've had, and I want you to choose the profile and make up a profile for one of these financial directors based on all the information you know, and I want you to act as FD. And then I go to my sales bot and I go, sales bot, fucking sell to him. And I see how they perform. And they will do that. One will believe it's a finance director, the other one believes it's a salesman, and I will get a very accurate representation as to how that conversation will go, at least on email. When the phone systems are ready.
Work on next week, like coming 7 days.
What am I working on?
Yeah.
I'm still trying to get max extraction in terms of data. I think somebody here asked the question about some client information is very difficult to obtain online. I'm really trying to pull as much information online because I truly believe that the more information you have on a client, the easier it is to sell to them, the easier it is to get your business services across to them because they feel a psychological obligation to entertain that conversation when they think that you spent an hour on their prospect brief, but actually an AI has run that for 10 minutes while you've made your coffee. But it's a really useful thing to know these intricate bits of information. And so I would be very tempted to start on the sales bot and start because it's ready. It can do it right now, by the way. It's got a massive framework and I have simulations already for conversations of finance directors with my sales bot. And again, I was blown away when I saw the conversations because it was so fantastic. It has like a flow chart of information where every conversation, every sentence that the prospect replies to the bot, it goes back to the bot's memory and the bot runs that through the whole framework and it starts categorizing that client in all different ways in order to make sure the response back to them is so effective. So it's got emotional triggers, it's got organizational triggers, it's got how lucrative that company might be. And I've already seen that. And that's why you might have saw as well on my lead generation thing, it's got archetype, it's got personality type, all these things. These are all things that I've put into it and baked into it so that it can actually come across with the most appropriate response to get that sell or to get that email, to get that meeting with myself or another senior member of staff. But it's really exciting. You can tell I'm really excited about that part of the business. Currently, I'm doing boring stuff. I'm working on the discovery engine, which is the lead generation that goes out to find businesses. And I've created 13 specific scouts. So they're sub-agents underneath the lead discovery agent. They go out and they scour the internet. And that's another incredible technology. You guys, William, you were asking how is that different to like Apollo or something. This discovery agent is on the internet 24/7 and it's scouring internet for clients that might fit my profile needs. And so how the hell would I be able to compete with that as a human? It wouldn't be possible. And also all those people that are using Apollo, they're using Apollo, right? They're all using the same platform. So it's going to give them very similar results. If you build your own...
Apollo shit, by the way, just to say.
Yeah, I mean, I only use it now as a form of data extraction. So I'm only plugging in with API so it can extract phone numbers. And I will be doing smoke tests to see which platforms are giving me the best information, client phone numbers, emails, things like that. And then I'll do a process of elimination where I remove the data repositories that charge too much and offer too little. So you just have to have understanding of the process.
Is there something you can show on the screen, Gus?
I mean, no different to what I had before. I mean, literally, if I look on my platform right now, it's very, very similar. I mean, I've been doing the same thing, except all I'm trying to do is add logic into the system so that they are more optimized. I had a situation since last week where there was a problem where they were firing out multiple agents and it was burning 2 to 3 times more tokens than necessary. Now at this stage, it's not a problem because I'm only firing off 1 agent at a time. But when I've scaled up these operations and I've got 10 agents operating simultaneously and then they're launching 3, 4, 5 underneath, it quickly becomes a big problem. And that's why I'm trying to make sure that I can get these systems really, I get the code done really well firsthand. You have to make sure that you do not over leverage yourself before you've got the work done. It's exciting and it's fantastic, but pace yourself, get the basic things done, and then build the more sophisticated things, I would say. So yeah, again, for me, unfortunately, that's why I'm not really willing to go ahead and be like, I've built this and this. I'm literally just refining the lead generation bot at the moment.
Right. Okay, Anthony, did you already start with OpenClaw or Claude?
I took the easy option. I got some staff playing around with it, but yes, we are about to start. I'll update you in the next meeting.
Absolutely. And listen, guys, look, this is going to be a frequent event, and really where there's going to be a lot of benefit here is if you've used the systems, you've actually got questions for me, and you want to find out if there's anything specifically that I might have a handle on how I can help you overcome a problem that you might encounter. But for this session, I guess the message is build yourself a business plan, try to understand the bigger picture as to what you are building with these systems, and that will give you clarity on the shorter objectives. It's very hard to build things today in the short. Don't realize that you want speaker wire in the walls to put speakers, floating speakers. You can paint the whole room and renovate it, but at the end you've realized you have to smash holes in the perfectly painted walls because you didn't have the plan put down that you want to have floating speakers in the walls. So it's always best to plan the whole journey out, align it with your business, feed as much information about your company, look at competition, ask it to do deep research as to what else other companies are doing. There are so many repositories out there of information online right now. Everyone is so open in terms of this community with OpenClaw and artificial intelligence. The people that don't hate AI right now, which are people that are upset that they can't buy gaming computers for cheap anymore and that there's a spike in SD costs and things like that. But the people who actually love AI, the community is golden. They're amazing. Everyone's opening their, I've just done this with OpenClaw. Check out my repository. But be careful of viruses. Make sure you scan all new skills that you do upload to OpenClaw. But yeah, we can go into that into another session.
Yes. Also, Mo had another question. We can save it for next time because Claude has a plugin of Vibe Prospecting, which does lead gen. But yeah, let's save that one for next time. Thank you, Gus.
Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate your time, and I'll see you next time.
Cheers.
The recording has stopped.